When travelers work with staffing agencies, one of the main questions that comes up is, will it be filed as a 1099 or a W 2? Some firms force you to be a W 2 or a 1099, and others allow you to pick. But which is right for you? Jared Foose, our tax advisor, is going to help us bring some light to that conversation. Jared, let's lead off with defining. What are the two ways of filing?
Well, generally you have a W-2 employee where you actually receive a bona fide W-2 where your employer is withholding all the various payroll taxes for you on your behalf and also paying in on their half for your portion as well. A 1099 is basically the yin to its yang. A 1099 subcontractor, you are a business owner. Everything that they pay you, you're responsible for every stitch of taxes that they're going to pay you on that income. So they are very, very different. They have completely different benefits and different potential drawbacks to both.
Okay, and then what are the benefits and drawbacks of those W-2s?
The best thing about a W-2 is it feels like the safety net, the safety spot to sit where you're not going to have probably not going to have this huge tax bill that comes at the end of the year. The drawback to that is really you're kind of limited and what you can write off, what you can use as a deduction against that income. Because let's face it, you're in an industry that you're gonna have to move. You're gonna have to pay for rent for somewhere else. You're gonna have to pay for utilities. You're gonna have to pay for travel. That's unique to your industry. And since 2018, which is the passing of what's TCJA, which is everything in taxes in an acronym, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, you're not allowed to write those things off anymore as a W-2 employee. I know that there are tax professionals, if you want to call them that, across the country that are inventing ways for you to write off your travel. That's 100% illegal. So when you're going into the W-2, yes, it's the safety net, but it's also one of those things where you're going to be limited. You're not going to be able to write off your mileage. You're not going to be able to write off the travel expense. So going into that, before you if you're allowed to pick, and you try to pick a W-2, you should have the conversation with your employer to say, what are you going to reimburse me for if I choose a W-2 path? Are you going to help me pay for the move? Are you going to cover some of my mileage? Are you going to cover any of this type of expense? Because if not, you got to put that in your equation of what's better for you. That's the biggest drawback. And unique to your industry is all your CEs that you have to pay for, your licensing, where you can't write those off anymore either. So it's a safe spot to be, but you still may be paying for those things out of your pocket and not being able to write them off anymore. I'm not 100% sure I ever see those deductions ever coming back, just because where they were on form, what's called 2106, which you don't have to remember. That was one of the most highly abused tax forms on the tax return. The IRS knows this, Congress knows this. I doubt that comes back. So W-2 wise, safe, but maybe you're losing money some places.
Well, and it should be noted that a lot of contracts, especially now, have the tax-free stipends associated with them to try and help with some of those fees and some of those costs that aren't able to be written off anymore. So It's not like W-2, you don't get compensated for it. It's just a different way of compensation, and it's making it even more important to make sure that your contract is proper.
Correct. And I assume those are negotiated things. I don't know that for a fact, but I would assume that they are.
So what are the benefits and drawbacks of being a 1099 then?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that I always try to discuss this, if somebody were to ask me that's a traveling nurse or traveling doctor, what's best? I don't know. Depends on the individual. This 1099 thing is very good for the type of individual that understands the moment you're a 1099 subcontractor, you're a business owner. And you may not feel like you're a business owner because you're doing the same job somebody else is doing as a W-2. But when they pay you that gross amount, the whole check, you're responsible for not only paying your taxes, but keeping what in the IRS's eyes is called good records, adequate records. Well, that's a loose definition of what records should look like. Just because you're a 1099 doesn't mean you can just put it in the bank and just expect everything to go well. You are to act like a business owner, which means you have income, you have expenses, and you have to have adequate records for these things. If you're the type of individual that doesn't love record keeping and accounting, you may not like that. The flip side to that is if you're the type of person that either can justify paying someone to help you keep these records, the benefits are there to be in control of more of your finances. You have the choice of what you put your money into retirement. You have the choice of what type of benefits you want to add to your company, whether it be covering some of your travel, your meals. You have more freedom to write off more things as a subcontractor compared to a W-2. But as most people would say, be careful what you choose. You should, once again, kind of know what you're getting into before you go down that road and sign that dotted line.
Awesome. So be on the lookout for our next video discussing what your tax home is and how you can just gain more information about how to select a tax home. If you have questions or concerns after this video about your W-2 or 1099, then click the link below and we'll reach out. As always, we come to you for personal health solutions, so come to us for personal wealth solutions.